Monday, March 4th, market analysis, Stan Ehrlich. And we're starting out with the indexes as usual. We're doing absolutely nothing today. I mean, these indexes are very, very quiet, very much unlike Friday when we had a very big up day and new highs, and the S&P spider and almost the E-mini did get overbought on the spider. So we now have one major index overbought. The spider, if it will just pop in a new high ground by a wee bit, will probably also get overbought, and then maybe some others will follow. So maybe a little bit more strength, and then the correction. I hate to say this, it's been weeks, looking for a correction back to the support area. And for the E-mini, the numbers are around 48.40 and maybe even down to 47.30. So no sign of it beginning. I thought I had a start, back here on January 31st. Also, a big break in a single day on February 13th. Excuse me. And we also had almost a little downside breakout February 21st. None of them had any follow through. We made new highs afterwards. And again, and now the third time on Friday. I still think we're looking for a cruising for a bruising here. Break to the downside. Not quite sure what's going to trigger it, but right now we are almost dead exactly unchanged. Next chart on the 1 minute now, E-mini, you can see how flat today's activity is. No higher high, although we're close to what we got on a big rally on Friday. And that was really only half of the second half of the day on Friday. Anyway, our low today is not much lower than the close of Friday, and we have been slightly higher, but we're currently fiddling around unchanged approximately. And the NASDAQ doing the same thing you should expect, but we did make a tiny new high for the trend on the March futures NASDAQ, NQ. And not quite overbought on the NASDAQ, though, although getting closer and closer. I don't see any reason to be changing my mind about RSI and overbought conditions occurring very, very quickly here the next day or two, and then down. Next, we got the 5-minute chart on the NASDAQ, and as you can see, one little spike here made a new high for the whole trend. But it immediately got pushed back. Not particularly bullish activity, but there's no follow through. I'm just not getting that follow through. And I would hate to think that I would actually collapse enough today to get below Friday's lows, although that's not impossible. It doesn't look likely. And therefore, I'm not going to get any sell signals today. Probably not in the indexes. Well, let's go to bonds. Bonds have been creeping up here lately. They are not oversold at the bottom. And I did not get any particular signals. As you know, I've been slightly bearish on interest rate futures for a while. I still am. We are up against a little resistance at the moment, nothing particularly special. And not too much to go on here. So I've got to wait for some directions, for some signals, Otherwise, as you also know, even though slightly bearish short term, I am bullish and very bullish intermediate to long term. So the question is, did it bottom out a week or two ago and I didn't realize it? Can't tell yet. Next, notes. Same comments, same situation, period. Next, crude oil. Well, we're up against some resistance. We had the market succeed in poking through some new highs on Friday, but we're still in the resistance area, and we weren't too far from overbought. Right now, we're almost low and last, coming back down some, but because it's a doji and because we weren't overbought, I won't get any sell signals per se. but I'm expecting resistance to stop the rally and for it to turn down a bit. Next chart, heating oil, did exactly that. It got to resistance and it got overbought and it got a bearish engulfing on February 13th. Now we have today at the moment slightly lower than yesterday, but we really need to get down below the low of last week at 2.5837. And below that, we probably will slip off to the next significant support area, which is 24 or 2.48 or 2.48 down to about 2.35. And if we get down there, we're probably going to be oversold, so it might start to bounce off of that support. Intermediate, short term, slightly bearish. Longer term, don't know. Next, natural gas. Now, this is a little bit different story. The trend here has been down for quite a while. All of the rallies have stopped at either resistance areas for the most part or some other reason. And we've made recently new lows to move again. The only thing I have to hang my hat on to be friendly for the very short term is this bullish engulfing reversal that we had on February 27th. Today we have a new high. So this trade, the signal's doing very, very well. New high ground. I'll probably put the lines on there for you tomorrow. Next, this head and shoulder top in the unleaded gas I thought was forming is not. So I'm abandoning all reference to the head and shoulder top, and that's that. We could develop a double top. We're not that close to overbought, and I can't help it. It looks like this is going to work its way a little higher. It's got pretty significant resistance close by, and so I'll put a little resistance, yeah, that's good, zone in there. And as a result, we're bumping against resistance, so, but not overbought. We could turn down. I'm not very sure about the unleaded gas at the moment. Gold, 2 big days now, up dramatically. But we're now above some resistance. And we're now in one of those kind of zones where there's a chance that the gold market could continue to explode. But because of the 85 plus overbought condition it's in right now, and this is generally speaking where it's topped out before, back in December and in January. So looking for a sell signal, not getting one at the moment, almost high and last. No comment. I accept that. We could get stronger real quick, short term this week or less. And I'm expecting a sell signal anytime now. Silver, clearing some minor resistance, nothing special. A lot more problems where we are or at higher levels. Big trend is big sideways for a year now. Bottoms are around the same levels, if not a tiny bit higher, longer term. Tops are coming down in general, not too fast, longer term. And we're kind of in the middle of a rock and a hard spot. I don't see anything wrong with it rallying all the way back up to 25.5. But we're getting close to overbought here. So on the way up, we're getting close to a minor little correction back down some. So friendly to modestly bullish for a little while, a few weeks, a month or two. Next, platinum, not quite cooperating, although the support area is doing a very good job. We're now popping back today after the low Friday was at the bottom of the support, and it did turn it around. Now we're right back up to the high of support. If we can close above that and start to challenge some of these other minor highs, heck, we could get right back up to 968, and I'm not ruling out 1015 again. Turning friendly in the process of, unfortunately, no signals per se, but it's a support that's doing the job so far. Next, High-grade copper, rock in a hard spot. We could rally up to this resistance area and then turn down. We're not too far from overbought. The last rally was so close, we could already be on our way down to the support. I don't know. I'm not very sure about copper, so I'm going to have to pass. Soybeans. Here's the second rally to resistance I talked about all last week. So what have we got? A long-term potential major, very bearish breakout basically last week. Market stayed below previous lows for 2 years. Now rallying back up to the previous lows for the last couple of years. That could have been it. That would be a perfect place for it to stop rallying. Right smack, very, very, very close to those two exact previous lows back in May of last year and also July of 22. So today's high bumps against those numbers almost exactly in a resistance level, and we're not doing too well at the moment. We could easily make new lows and start slipping to new low ground completely. I'm quite bearish on soybeans. I don't know where it's going to stop, but I think it's easily going to get below 1,100. I wouldn't be surprised to see it below 1,000 in the month or 2 or 3 to come. Bean oil. We got a buy signal on Friday, except that did not hold at the close, so that's not quite true. For a while on Friday, we had all of the criteria, everything that was necessary, and ER1 kicked in a new long. But the closing price did not cooperate with the signal on the close. As a result, the new long ER trades were exited on the close, and we have a very small day trade loss from buying it at 45.19 to getting out at 45.07 for both the ER1 scalp and the ER1 overnight. A dud of a signal that didn't hold. Usually they do. Therefore, no ER3 triggers and no ER3 signal either. This is fairly rare, but it happens. Next, meal. Buy signal on Thursday of last week. Nothing is going wrong here. Our stop is already up high enough to protect a small profit. Holding fairly well. Did make a new high since the signal day on Thursday of last week. So ER1 overnight is doing very, very well. We don't seem to be able to come down low enough to get filled on ER3 scalp or overnight, which is the same entry price. So we have one more day after today to potentially get filled. One overnight again is doing very nicely so far, and our stop is now high enough to protect a small profit in 2 days. Next, meal 1-minute chart. I'll show you the ER1 scalp lost money on Thursday. Now that the ER1 overnight is doing a lot better, I like what I see. Acting very good. Pulling the chart up to date right now. Good. Great. And as you can see, the stop is just a little bit higher than our entry. So it'll, under normal circumstances, with no gaps in the wrong direction, we should make some money on this trade. Now, corn doing very well also, except we got bumped out today with a profit. So here's the ER1 on the day of the signal entry for either scalp or overnight. This is only the overnight showing you. So that's our entry price. Not particularly very elegant, but it worked okay. Did okay the next day, next day, next day. Friday it started to stumble a little bit, but today we did make a new high for the move, along with other readings. Managed to pull our stop up this morning a ways, and we have gotten stopped out almost exactly where we are right this moment, but we were stopped out a little earlier. Same price. So, decent trade, nothing special. We're in at about 422 and out about 427 a nickel. Took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Nothing great, but green. Profit's better than loss. And here is the trade on our 1 minute charts. Okay, there we got in. ER1 scalp looks like it lost about a penny, very tiny loss. And ER1 overnight held on and finally got bumped out a little while ago, like I said. And now it's coming down a little below where we got out. And wheat, interestingly enough, also got another buy signal recently. Lasted 2 days for the ER1 scalps. That made some money same day as the signal. And the ER1 overnight lasted 2 days and made a little bit better money. Now, the ER3 got long exactly 3 days after the signal day and exactly on the low tick on February 23rd. Now, granted, it went a little bit lower the next day, but at least on that one day, we touched and got filled dead on the low of the day. So we are out now of that trade because of the big break that happened on Friday, and the ER3 overnight made very little, but still green. Waiting for more signals. Oh, I do have to point something else out that looks very, very suspicious. The low back here was 554.00. Now that's the lowest low for years in wheat since the beginning of the war. The low we had a couple of weeks ago was one tick lower. 553.50, sorry, 2 ticks. Wheat, yep, 2/4 of a cent. So 2 ticks lower. And today's low so far is 553 flat, another 2 ticks in new low ground. As far as I'm concerned, that's a triple bottom so far. Or if you want to include the low today with the low a week and a half, 2 weeks ago as one low in general, and the other low back here in November, yeah, you could say it's a broad double bottom, but there's 3 of them within 1 cent range over a few months. So let's call it a triple. I'm now higher than where we opened, but we're still only 4.5 cents higher on the day, and I'm not oversold, and we're not close to the high of Friday, so no reversal per se, only a support area surfacing as being pretty darn significant. And I'll put a little support zone in right here just to highlight how accurate this has been. Just a hair lower like that. That's good. So, interesting. Next, wheat, 1 minute chart. Here's our 1 scalp, made money. 1 overnight, lasted a couple of days for swing, did very well. 3, bought the exact tick low 3 days after the signal. And the 3 scalp only had a few minutes to make a trade. It did make a very tiny profit. And the 3 overnight also made a profit, although unfortunately very small. Now, yeah, you had opportunities to do a lot better, but the point is, this is an automated trading system. You shouldn't go messing if you don't want to, or shouldn't. With the kicker, the speed at which the stop moves, you could have. All 4 of these trades using the default kicker, I believe, made minor profits. Well, not minor. ER1 did pretty good. ER3 barely. Next chart is cattle. Yeah, live cattle. Longer term trade. Bought it on the 3rd day after the signal day, ER3 position trade. And we've been holding it ever since we got long December 20th. The other trades got out sooner, ER3 short term. Actually, that's ER1 overnight. Managed to last a couple of weeks. ER1 scalp is a scalp and looks like it's a very small day trade profit. Can't tell. Oh, yeah, I can. ER3 scalp has a very nice green dotted line through most of the range of that second signal day. or fill day, excuse me. And again, 3 days after the actual signal, and not the low of the day, unfortunately, but it did very well for the scalp, and the overnight's doing incredibly well. We have a slow moving stop to show how a position trade might hold on to it for, gosh, what has it been now? Since December 20th, a month and a half, and still in the trade, relatively close to the highs for the trend. Next chart, hogs. Not too many signals lately. We had a sell signal, and it didn't work. Lost a little bit about 4 days ago. Yeah, ER1 new short. I don't even have the ER3 showing. I'm sure it lost a little money also. So we're kind of waiting here for some more signals. We have been overbought the last couple of days, but today is a doji. I'm waiting. OJ, starting to come down again. OJ's been really, really good to us. Big sell signal on the first shoulder high, head and shoulder top we did not know was going to form at that time, December 31st. The top of the market, we got another ER sell signal, exact high day, 11/21 last year. Now we're a little suspicious because the break went down to around the same lows we had before, and all you need is a rally to match about the right timing and about the right price. My timing was 1 day later than the high we made, and my price was a little bit too high, but we got a bearish engulfing on the last shoulder high. Now, it wasn't a sell signal because we weren't overbought, but excuse me, part of it. And the pattern kicks in. We get a breakout, and the whole thing works great, right out of a textbook. Then we have another big rally. And guess what? At the top of it, we've got a bearish engulfing ER sell signal about a month ago, 3 weeks ago. For a couple of days, it works great. We get out. Nice profit, nice trade. Nothing at the moment, kind of waiting for something new. I'm personally neutral to bearish. We'll see what happens. Cocoa. Parabolic. Blow off tops. Can't sustain this for very long. We're starting to get back up toward overbought again. I'm watching for sell signals, and when we get one, it should be a good one and a big profit. The last one was not. On the 22nd of February, we got a sell signal, lost a little money right away, and we're out. That's what my system does. If we're wrong, we're wrong, and we don't stick around to lose a lot. We have very tight stops to begin with, and when we're right, it just starts working real quick, usually. Coffee. Waiting for a signal, a little bit between a rock and a hard spot. So we're waiting. And sugar, bearish, looking for the next support level at 1950 to get tested. And if that's broken, a chunk lower after that for sugar to sweet. Next, cotton, like cocoa, parabolic, can't sustain it. So far, we're getting a darn good break here. Now, blow off top, yes. Exhaustion strength, yes. I don't see too many other features I can hang my hat on here. No bearish engulfing ER sell signal, unfortunately. Support is now being tested. We are now back to 47-ish on the RSI. Now we're back in the neutral ground at support, and if it starts to bounce again, this thing is going to do another blow off top, another screaming into a new high situation. But was that the final high, even though I didn't get any signals? We do have a double divergence situation, a high in the indicator on the date of February 9th, and then we had higher highs, but not in the indicator, and that's our sell signal day. And then we had higher highs again just a couple of days ago, but not in the indicator. That is a double divergence. And that can be an indication that we've got a big break coming. I got to wait a little bit. I'd love to get a sell signal. I've got a little bit more time, but I don't want it to go too low before I get it. Turning bearish, with the exception being, how is it holding support that it's doing okay with right now, because we're high and last for this bounce back, getting close to the high of the day, and we did leave a small gap behind. Gaps are almost always closed between today's high and Friday's low. Interesting. Going to watch this very closely. Back to the spider. We're not updating the spider at the moment, so back to our E-mini. Very, very boring day. And the sideways movement perpetuates. Although I see we did make a new high by just a little bit here in the last 15 minutes or something. You guys have a profitable trading day. Mañana.